So in the next 15 minutes or so, I'd like to talk a little bit about some recent work that we have been doing and something that we feel very, very excited about. I'd like to share that with you. Okay, Gianluca gave you all of this. But before that, let me just tell you a little bit about my personal evolution, if you will, in my own research. I was trained very, very well. I was trained well by my advisor. Got my PhD from Caltech. At the time, we were working on wavelets, filter banks, lots of those. Very hardcore multi-rate signal processing stuff. And then, as Gianluca mentioned, to Bell Labs and then Carnegie Mellon and then finally Cornell. But one thing that has not changed throughout the career is that I'm always fascinated by visual data. By that, I mean images. By that, I mean video. I just enjoy working on this research that helps me stay in touch with my data, especially visual data. One, I believe humans are very, very visual, meaning you respond to what you see, you learn from what you see, and all of that. Another good thing about working in visual data is that you never run out of your data. Good thing about this is that we don't even have to go out and collect data, unlike those physicists, experimentalists. For us, whenever you want to study more data, you just go online. You can grab that anytime you want. I'm pretty sure many of you have accounts on places like Facebook. I'm pretty sure you have your Facebook account. I'm pretty sure you share data, photos specifically with each other. You've also heard about Flickr. And last time I checked, Flickr has billions of images. So for us, performing research on images, we never run out of data. I also heard that on Flickr, for example, the number of images is increasing like 3,000 images per minute, which means if I run out my data, I wait 1 hour, go online, I have already 200,000 more images that I can deal with. So we never run out of data. That's one good thing about working on images. Okay, so with all of that, I also want to say, to lead you to this talk today, we're not just working on any images, we work on images that people care. These are images of people, with people in them. These are images that are trying to tell you stories, as people who capture those images, and people share these pictures. So therefore, we're going to take you to this journey, if you will, trying to understand these images, not just from traditional, signal processing point of view, but also more advanced. Well, I'm a signal processing person myself, but more from the user and more from the users. Think about this image not just as arrays of pixels, rather think about what people were trying to share among themselves behind those images. Okay, so with that, I'm going to show you the first image, and I want to ask you what you see in this image. 1 bar, 3 circles within that big square. If I rearrange them, you see something more intriguing, interesting. Now you see I hope I get the same answer. You see a face, okay? So your visual system is very, very fine-tuned to see human faces. So now this is going to lead me to talking about images or pictures of people. Okay, this is another image that I like to show always to just warm up my audience. You see face, you see a face. You probably see 2 faces, depending on how you look at this image. If you squint your eyes, and people in the back row, you probably see that second face already. Whom do you see here? Everyone sees Einstein? That's good. Who else do you see? Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, if you squint your eyes, it actually helps. Okay, so this is actually work done by our good colleagues, Oliva, MIT professor. She created this image that's basically Einstein superimposed with Marilyn Monroe in the background. I think Marilyn Monroe was very much blurred. So when you look at it first, you don't see it. But when you squint your eyes, blurring the image down, then Einstein and Marilyn Monroe kind of all mixed together, and then you see Marilyn Monroe. You all saw Marilyn Monroe, right? Okay, good. Just to make sure. Okay. If not, then I'll pull you to the side and I'll try to give you some more. Okay. How about this? You see 2 people enjoying glasses of wine. Okay. If you squint your eyes, what do you see? Yeah, I can help you by downsizing the image. Now you see face. Well, not a light face, but face nonetheless. So again, the point is that you, as human, your visual system has gone through years of evolution, humankind really. You are really, really fine-tuned to see human faces. Okay. So therefore, those of us working in this area called face recognition, we've done so much work in the last 20 years, maybe more. I would date it back all the way to my friend Takeo Kanade with his own PhD thesis. It's like a statue in computer vision, right? So his own PhD thesis was about looking at all these human faces, photos of human faces, measuring the distance between facial features, and then thereby you can recognize a person. And then later, work done by Matthew Turk, eigen faces, and some have heard about that, using eigen analysis to understand how human faces vary over this feature space. Blends and Better came up with this idea of morphable models, basically tell you how human faces would change under different lighting and different individuality and that kind of thing. Myself, Simon, Lucy, and myself, we did some work earlier also to try to recognize human faces under different poses by aligning these patches of face on a frontal view and compare them with face on a side view, if you will, so that you get more robustness in this recognition process. Okay, so much work is done for face recognition that's not even new anymore. Okay, however, now that you know and you've seen some of these examples, how we work on human face recognition, well, you basically take a picture of that person, and then next time you see someone unknown, match that training face with this test face. If there's enough similarity, that's the same person. If not, that's a different person. How do you deal with facial expression, lighting, pose variations? Well, you take more images of that person, try to understand how that person looked like under different lighting, under different illumination of lighting and different expression of that. Okay, all of this have to do with understanding those pixels. I'm going to take a turn and tell you that with all of that research for the past 20, 30 years, we have really missed something really, really big. To show you that, I just want to present this image and ask you what you see in this image. What does this image, what does this photo trying to tell you? What does it try to tell you? First of all, you see a family. Did you have any training images of any individuals from this family? You never did. So face recognition work that we have done for the last 20, 30 years wouldn't even come close to saying that it's a family, because you have no training image for that. This classifier just does not have any training data. How did you know this is actually a family? Now these two young individuals just get abducted by two bad guys running away out in the country. How did you know? How did you say this was a family? You had no training data. Okay. Any suggestions? They look happy. Okay, good. So facial expression is helpful. Okay, and that also tells you that they were probably not sitting in the office, or they were standing, yes, but they were not in an indoor environment working with computers or video games, right? They were outdoor having good time. So that whole environment also gave it away that they were having good time. Maybe a vacation of some sort. How about the ages of this individual? Can you tell how old they are? Again, you've never seen them. You see a taller body, that must be an older person. When you see a shorter body, that must be a younger person. Okay? You said this is a family, okay? There's something else you're saying, right? I think you're looking at the age differences and then also gender differences. You see two adults, one male and one female. Okay, I know there are other definitions of marriage today, but that's still the traditional definition of one male, one female, right? Okay. Okay, so that's enough. So all I want to say with this example is to tell you that really for those of us, including myself, working on face recognition for the last 20, 30 years, we really have missed something really big. That's what's beyond these faces. So this is my statement. I like to think all the face recognition work has been, is so 1990. They are just so outdated that they are not even relevant anymore. Right? You look at all this, you ignore everything else, up to these 4 individual faces, each one presented by maybe 20 by 16 pixels, and you try to do all this classification, pattern recognition, all of that. Really, if you keep looking on those, good luck, but I want to do something different. I would want to look at what's beyond these 4 faces and try to come up with what you just came up with. The fact that this was a family, the fact that they were having a good time. How did you get all of that? I want my computer algorithm to accomplish the same thing, what you just did, understanding this image. Okay, good enough. I'm setting you good for more discussion. Okay, so therefore, all what I want to say here is that understanding images of people is really more than just understanding who they are. You also want to know, not intentionally, but in the understanding process, you also, in the meantime, try to understand how old they are, how tall they are, what are they doing. So this is why I'm going to pull out this word called context. So how did you just say that this was a group of people that compose a family? Is because you have a lot of prior or context that you were able to benefit from. Okay. Oh, I forgot to ask you the gender of these individuals, not just the adults, but also the younger children. Right, you can see now these two. In fact, for that first image, you will see that they both look like boys. But for the second image, you will see that they are maybe one boy and one girl. Right. You can probably also tell that these two pictures were captured around the same time. Oh, do you agree with me that they were captured around the same time? Maybe the same trip? How? If you agree, why would you agree? They were in the same clothes, right? Yes. So this is probably the same trip that they did. Only the baby, the change clothes, maybe she spilled the milk or whatever, has to be changed and all of that. Okay, good enough. All right, so this is just another way of looking at context. Of course, I hope no one in this room will have trouble reading this, the cat. Okay, I hope that's what you got. But then if you focus on that middle character, they actually look the same. But somehow in the first context, T and E, that's read as the. The second context, C and T, now is read as a cat. Right, so context changes your understanding of these words, the middle letter in both words. Okay, that's basically what I'm going to say. So in images of people, what we're going to do in the following is to tell you all different sources of context that you can benefit from. The first type I'm going to call pixel context. This is context that can be actually extracted from the pixels themselves. Very interesting. For example, I don't know if, actually you just did that, right? You said these two pictures were taken around the same time because you saw that they were all in the same clothes. Okay, what else? I'm also going to talk about this a bit more later, but now you can see that even the positions of this face tell you something about them. We notice that these two pictures showing the same family, group of 4, they actually position themselves about the same geometric relationship when both pictures were taken. I don't think they did this on purpose, but just somehow whenever they have their picture taken, that's just how it is. The mother is always carrying that older child, the boy. The father is always carrying that baby, the baby girl. Is that social bias? I don't know, but that's just how they tend to put them together when the picture is taken. Okay, so picture context also involves some position of these faces, which I'm going to talk about more later. Capture context is probably more obvious. With your digital camera today, every time a picture is captured, you have not only the pixels, but you also have the GPS, the date, and the time, right? So you have all that information. So now, of course, if you compare the timestamps, if you look at the GPS data, you can now reconfirm your earlier conjecture that these were two pictures taken around the same time, the same trip at least, around the same location. The last type, social context, is something that I want to address more today. This is something not directly from the pixels, not from those so-called metadata, but this is something that you know as human viewers, if you will. Okay, you know that adult human height is about that much, female height is about that much, the age difference between mother and child, the age difference between husband and wife, the age difference between siblings. You have all of that information. In fact, now I hope I can convince you that that's what you just did. With all of that information as social context, you were able to say this is a picture, this is two pictures belonging to a family. You with me? Right? You actually use all of that information in your head already when you told me that this is a picture of a family. Okay, how about this? Is this a family? It will be just one too many, right? Okay. No? You think it's the family? Okay. All right. So a few more examples now I want to show you, and then I want to show you experiment results on these examples. So here's one example now. The test is very specific now. You have a picture of two faces, and you're trying to identify who is person A and who is person B. Doesn't even make sense, does it? You don't have 20 images of them. How do you know it's person A, person B? Let me change the question a little bit. Who is Mildred and who is Lisa? Okay, you're all smiling, laughing, as if you know the answers already. Okay, let's show of hands. Mildred is the right, left, no. Okay. Lisa is left, no, right. So all of you seem to be saying Lisa is the one on the left. Where did you even get that? You've not met them before, have you? Okay, anyone? I think you know the answer. Just go ahead. Shoot. Not anymore. That's the key. So it turns out that these names actually carry a lot of social context. And believe it or not, for all those researchers in face recognition for the past, ourselves included, we have ignored that all this time. Only until recently we realized why this first name actually carries something very, very useful. Okay, so you already mentioned that. That's exactly what happens. If you go back to this US Social Security Administration, you can actually grab all this data already. These first names, they do have different popularity over time. The name Lisa is more popular around the 1960s for babies that were born in the 1960s. And the name Mildred was most popular for those who were born in the 1920s. So these first names, they are not just labels. They carry a lot of social context. So next time when you do face recognition, keep that in mind. And later I'm going to show you our experiment results, of course. Just for reference, just for fun of it, we have also shown for you 3 other names that have gained or lost popularities over time. It's just funny how things evolve. Apparently the name Peyton gained so much popularity in the last 10, 20 years. And the name, Nora seemed to be keeping its popularity over time. Okay, so this is what you remember now. Next time when you look at a problem like this, remember social context, first name, really tells you a lot about, well, it tells you a lot about age, but of course, first name also tells you a lot about gender. Didn't show up in this example, but later you will see that. So in order to capture this, that the fact that you had no trouble telling me that the younger person was Lisa and older person was Mildred, we have to do the same with our computer algorithms. So I'm just going to show you this, tell you a little bit about this. If you don't work in this area, you probably won't be able to appreciate much about, but try to stay with me. Basically, this is something we call a graphical model. It's a graph that shows the dependency, if you will, between variables. In this case, I'm showing the name as one variable. I'm showing the age and gender as 2 other variables. All of these variables are hidden, therefore they are drawn as groups. And then these are variables that you observe from the images. Some features to do with age, I don't know, facial wrinkles and all of that. And gender, of course, other things. So if you observe these features from the image, then you can go back and try to infer the hidden variables, the name and the age and gender. And you can do that more effectively if you know all these branches. Each branch basically is a conditional probability that tells you, given that name, what would be the distribution of the birth year? Given that name, what would be the probability of the gender? So if you can pre-train or learn those branches, those edges, if you will, you're learning all the conditional probabilities. After you have all of these, next time when you see an image, when you observe this feature, you can go back and infer the name. You can go back and infer the age, gender. And the idea is that the better you learn those conditional probabilities, the better you can perform the inference later. Good. That's kind of a 1 minute how do you call this, tutorial on graphical model. Toga, you're fine with that? Okay. Okay. Sorry, I didn't do this. I usually do this for my, so most of you are grad students? Okay, good. I don't know how many of you work in the system area of ECE. If I can just have a show of hands. Okay, good. How many of you work in computer science? I'd like to hear. Thank you. How many of you work on the physics end of ECE? Okay, where are the rest of you from? I'm sorry. Okay, maybe I missed a few here and there. Okay. No, in my mind, I'm very simple-minded. There's CS, there's ECE, those on the physics end, and those on the system end. But maybe there are a lot of other things in between as well. Okay, good enough. That gives me some thing about my audience. Okay, back to this. This is just another illustration of this first name really carries a lot about this age information. So what we have done here is that we look at all the faces belonging to people who are named I don't even know how to say this. Gertrude, okay, Gertrude, okay. And then all the names, all the individuals that were named Tom, all the individuals that were named Abigail or Sarah, Caleb, yes. Okay, as you can see already, even though the database itself is not biased, this is all the people for the last however many years, you can see that if you just average the face, you can see that all these first names do carry a lot of information about their age. Okay? Just another way of illustrating the same thing I said earlier. Okay, one more thing I want to say. This is another graphical model that has one more node. This node now has to do with the relative positions of two faces. So the conjecture here is that I also believe that in a picture, when you see two faces, how they position themselves with respect to each other also tells you a lot of information that you would not know earlier. Okay, so therefore that node can be also built into the graphical model and try to do something for you. Okay, the way I can illustrate this would probably be, the best way is the next slide. Okay, here's just analysis. This is just learning. This is not inference yet. Okay, if we look at lots and lots of images and look at a pair of faces, two faces, and if we collect all those pictures with two faces, the two that we're focusing on, one on top of the other by 2 units. By 1 unit, I mean one normalized height of face. Okay, so you can see that if that's the case, given that you have two faces, one above the other by 2 units, okay, then you can see that the age distribution between these two faces are very, very skewed. Okay, this is to show the age distribution of one face and age distribution of the other face. If you see a strong band below 45-degree line, that means the blue face, I mean the face that's labeled blue, is much older than the face that's labeled red. Okay, and here I'm trying to show you when given that pose, then the gender distribution will be equally speaking, roughly speaking, uniform. That's half, 1/4 of time male, and then female, and then male, and female. Okay, so pretty uniform, but the age is not uniform. Second case, the second row here, two faces. You can see there's a lot of quantization here, but I'm trying to show one face on top of the other, but this one is only by 1 unit. So these two faces are now getting closer compared to the first row. You can see now the age skew is disappear, meaning that in this case, the two faces tend to have similar age. Therefore, that 45-degree line seems to have most of the strength, most of the mass of this PDF probability density function. Okay, this is rather interesting. Now you see that in this kind of situation, one face above the other by 1 unit, then most likely, very, very likely, is the male head face above the female face by 1 unit. Not a surprise. I hope not. Okay, to most of you at least. Okay. This one is rather interesting also. The third row shows one face above the other by 1 unit, but also shift to the right by 1 unit. So this is kind of above, but to the right. Okay, you can see that not much age skew, but still the same. You have one male face up higher than the female face. Finally, when you have two faces next to each other, now you're talking about two faces next to each other by 1 unit, then you can see that rather interesting. No age bias one way or another. Look at this. This tells you that when you have two faces taken picture together and their heights are just about the same and they are next to each other, it's very likely, more likely they are male and female, and less likely they are both male and less likely they are both female. So 2 men and 2 women don't take picture as often as 1 man and 1 woman. Okay? No statement here. This is just the statistics that we have collected. Okay? So therefore, the idea is that with that graphical model I mentioned earlier, with this hidden node called pose, actually it's not hidden, I probably should have drawn it as a circle. You observe. You can detect the faces and you can find the poses. So it's actually an observed variable. Then you can see how we can improve this performance of this algorithm. Okay? I'm trying to show you that on the left column, this is how appearance only gender and age estimators perform. Okay? And we're trying to show that age estimation is a number, gender estimation is the letter. And you can see that we're using green letter to show that it's actually correct. So whenever you see a red label here, that means the gender has been recognized with errors. Okay. Okay. Second column, we're trying to show you experiments by considering the first name. The last row is the full model. By that, I mean age, gender, first name, and also pose, position of the two faces. So hopefully you see that, at least for these examples, as you go to the right, more and more social context you're bringing in, Then the age, I hope you agree with me, and the gender, of course, you can see because they are more green now. When you see more green labels, that means they are correctly recognized in terms of gender. So the more to the right, the more contextual information you bring, therefore the better the performance. Okay, if you want to look at some numbers, with a pretty good decent sized database, we've shown that if you perform this task of assigning names to faces, if you do things randomly for that database, that will be a performance. If you consider age, that, gender, that, age and gender, that, age and the pose all together, so you can see the more contextual information you bring, the better performance you get. In the end, you get about this much for that particular database, for that particular task. You would think 66.7 is not very high, two-thirds, one or three times you're making a mistake, right? For the same task, if given to the human, we have done this with human subjects. Human perform just about better than that, but not by much. So you actually now have an algorithm that performs almost as well as human subjects, about that much. Okay, you can see humans are pretty much doing the same thing when they look at these faces. They are trying to understand the age, the gender, the position preferences, and try to come up with the best result they can, and that would be 60%, 70% for human. Okay. This is just a side note. As we are trying to do this better and better for associating names to faces, it turns out that within that graphical model, the individual links are also getting stronger. In other words, the age estimation itself is getting better, not by much, but the gender estimation itself is getting much better. Before we consider any of this other information, gender estimator makes this much mistake. After all of this information added together, then that error is reduced much, almost half, right? You have half that error by simply considering more contextual information. Okay, maybe I'll take a pause here. So far, so good. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, Toga.
So, you've shown us that by taking into account these graphs, probabilities of learning can improve.
Yeah.
But if I want to go from 66 to 70, but I don't want to do it, I'm going to add this link and add this variable. Can you discover the graph structure somehow, or does that always have to be given by a human? Perhaps, what's
yes.
also important is the color of the shirt that people are
yes.
wearing.
Yes.
Take that into account.
We have not accomplished that. That is, you build a graph that has all the contextual information sources, and you let the graph learn itself. We've not achieved that. Okay. Basically, the challenge is computation complexity. Okay. Later, however, I will show you that we have done this. That's we have a graph that has this. We have a graph that has that. We have a graph that has this and that, and then we'll show you the performance. Okay. So, and you will see that in general, for most cases that we've done, the more contextual information you bring, you get better performance. Yeah. But we have not done what you're asking. That's you start with a very, very complex graph and let the data drive you to simplify the graph to keep only the edges that are not necessary. That are necessary. We've not done that. Yeah. Just because the computation time is probably not even the only concern. It's also the training data. Yeah. When the graph gets more complex, the amount of training data that you need to actually learn the graph structure itself is.
I ask this because in this domain,
yeah. Then you have to go with that. You have to go with that. Yes. We're still kind of semi-driven, and then the rest driven by the data. Yeah. Yeah. We have not come to that last level of driven purely by the data. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other comments? Okay, so next one. Another thing that we found in our data, which we thought was rather interesting, was that turns out that the position of these two faces also tell you a lot about the social relationship between the two individuals. Okay, to show that, I'm plotting for you, how do I say this? Okay, if you have a pair of faces representing mother and child, if you anchor the position respect to the child, then this is where you're going to find the mother. Does that make sense? So all the faces with all the pairs doesn't matter, but if you put the origin at the child and find where the mother's face is, this would be the distribution. So no surprise, you tend to find the mother's face above the child, about that much. And this is father-child. No surprise here. Father is also usually with the face above the child. One thing that's intriguing is that you can see that father tend to be a little bit farther from the child's face than the mother would. No surprise there, I guess, right? When you have father and child relationship, there's some, I don't know, distance. When you have mother. I'm not even going there. I'm not a social whatever researcher. I'm not going there. Okay? But this is what we got from our data. Okay, wife and husband. This we thought was rather interesting. If you put the husband's face there and as an anchor, this is where you're likely to find the wife's face. So wife's face is usually 1 unit below the husband and maybe 1 unit to the left, 1 unit to the right. Okay, sibling, one face there and the other face would be nearby to the side. Same thing as friends. Okay. Okay, so then the question is, what do you use this for? Okay, I'm going to show you one example. Okay, first of all, you remember all this, right? This is two faces. The pose between them actually tell you something, whether they are mother-child, father-child, wife and husband, siblings, or friends. Okay? So armed with that information, this is what we're studying. And this is one example. In one example, we found that for this pair of faces, if we use appearance only, the algorithm would come up with a statement that this is a 32-year-old male, and that would be a 2-year-old male as well. You will, of course, say that's wrong, right? That's obviously a baby girl, right? Our algorithm couldn't decipher that. Looking at the face, and what the algorithm did was it cropped out this face, 20 by 20 pixels, and tried to do all this pattern matching thing. Okay, and you say, oh, that's obvious a girl. I don't know how you said that, but actually, how did you say that was a girl? Hair, maybe. Yeah. How about what she was dressed with? Yeah. It's pink, right? So pink has to be girl, right? Actually, I didn't know this before I came to this country. In this country, when you go to hospital, baby boys and baby girls are very well color-coded, right? Baby boys always dressed in blue, baby girls always dressed in pink. I didn't know that that's not the culture I came from. I thought, growing up, I was always dressing red. I have no idea how my parents did that to me, but that was what it is. Okay. All right, so back to this. This is one example that we, of course, see that now there's an error that we need to fix. This baby face, really to our algorithm, if appearance only, was so confusing that the algorithm actually thought that was a male. Okay, next step. Now let's bring in the first names. So we said these two faces, one of them has to be named Jessica, the other has to be named Paul, and this is what our algorithm came up with. It's even worse. Okay, something is very bad here. So apparently that face is so confusing to our algorithm. Our algorithm actually thought that was male, therefore Paul, and this would have them be Jessica, the female. So this algorithm at this point is actually very, very confused, even with first names, even more confused with first name. So then we need to bring something to sort of recover ourselves from ourselves. That is, apparently age, gender, first name not good enough for this example. So now let's bring in pose, the position of these two faces. It turns out that would be the answer. After we add the pose consideration, these two faces apparently have enough separation between them so that with this whole graphical model doing its job, now you will finally see that, oh, these two faces being so far apart, they are more likely to be male versus female. I'm sorry, father versus a child, less so mother versus a child. And that's how our algorithm, with the pose information, kicks in and do the right thing, and finally you get the right results. So in this case, age, gender, not helpful. Even first name, make it even more confused. Now once you bring in the pose, the fact that two faces separated by that much is more likely to be father-child relationship, less likely to be mother-child relationship, save us algorithm and finally came up with the right answer. Okay, just an example to illustrate what I'm trying to say. And of course, if you want to see the whole data set, the whole experiments, that's why I showed you earlier with those numbers increasing. Okay. Good enough for two faces. Now let's have fun with more faces, right? Think about this picture that is composed of, I don't know, 10 faces? 11, forgot a baby. See that baby face there? Okay. That's actually very difficult for general face detector anyway, but okay. Tell me what you see in this group picture. Family, co-workers from a workplace, colleagues. Any other choices? Friends, very good. Okay, so let's see how many options we have. We've got friends, not just friends. We've got family. In other words, they are friends too, mostly. Most friends, yes, mostly, yeah. But they're related by blood, okay? And what else? Office work, office colleagues. 1, 2, 3. 1, just friends, friends. 2, family, family as friends. No one? 3, not clear? Okay, let's start over again. 3 options. 1 is that they're just friends. 2, they are families, relatives. That's what I was looking for. They are people related by blood. And then 3rd is they are co-workers from a work environment. 1, show of hands. 2, show of hands. 3, okay, good. Okay, good. Actually, I don't know the answer, okay? Okay. Well, what I like to think is that I think they are friends. They are not co-workers from a workplace. I mean, you're not supposed to do that to each other in the workplace environment. I don't think so, okay? I'm looking at their hand gestures, okay? Also, with their age and gender distribution, I'm actually going to guess this is more like relatives. These are friends that are related by blood. In fact, I'm actually going to even conjecture that I can almost see the grandparent and maybe all the cousins. I don't know. And maybe the 3rd generation, that's the baby. That's my guess. Okay. You can agree, you can disagree, but that's okay. Yeah. But all I'm trying to say is that this is an example that now with what we have just shown you, you should attempt to develop your algorithms. If you want to know how they are related, you should develop algorithms to utilize all that thing that just went through your head for the last 30 seconds or so. So how do we do that? Okay, so we can identify age, gender, and group events. Again, social context has to come in and help you and try to do a better work with all of that context. This is just some first few steps of analyzing that social context. It turns out that whenever we look at pictures of human faces, we find that for the data that we have, this is where in the picture normalized into 1 by 1 unit square. This is where you're going to likely to find the male face. So the probability of finding male face is very high here, a little bit here, not very high here. And therefore, the 1 minus this would be where you're going to likely find the female faces. Make sense? Okay, and this is where you're going to likely to find the baby's face. Baby, we define that as age under a certain threshold. So you're likely to find baby faces kind of the bottom half of the image, but never the top half, or very, very unlikely the top half. So whenever next time you see a group picture, keep that in mind. Keep all of this prior so that your graphical model, your classifier eventually will do the right thing for you. And this is just another way of illustrating the same thing, really. So here we're looking at all the faces and put them back into this unit square, 1 by 1, depending on where they came from. So you can see that all these faces that originally came from their pictures on the top half tend to be more adults, tend to be more babies. And here I'm looking at all those faces happening in the same location, you just average all of them. So each of these is all the faces averaged together. For example, this is all the faces that show at the center top of the original picture they came from. If I average them all together, it looks like this. I hope you can also see that all these average face, more to the bottom, they look like younger faces. More at top, they look like older faces. It's subtle, I know, but hopefully you see some of that. Another thing that's even more subtle is that you can probably see more female faces in the center and less so on the two sides. Okay, not clear? This is clear. We've done enough analysis to show that if you have a group of 4 people, 2 male and 2 female, when they put themselves together and pictures taken, you would think there are all these possibilities, right? You can see I'm using that color coding system, right? Blue, it means male, pink means female. Surprising, not surprising, I don't know, but this is the most likely arrangement of 4 faces in one group. 2 female in the middle and 2 males on the sides, flanking the female subjects. Is that fair? I don't know, but I don't think it's fair, but women subjects tend to be more likely in the center of the pictures. So next time when you work on gender estimation of group pictures, this is something you remember. Even more so, okay, here's an example. I have a group picture of 6 faces. Okay, what do you think the gender distribution should be for these 6 faces? Everyone knows your probability. Okay, you have 6 faces. Each face can be male or female. So what would be the distribution of this random variable that says out of the 6 faces, how many of them are male or female? You can pick one. That would be a binomial distribution, isn't it? Okay, by that I mean your horizontal axis is how many faces out of 6 are male or female. You pick one. Okay, so very, very likely 6 3 out of them are male, 3 out of them are female. Less likely all of them are female, or less likely all of them are male. Yes, sir?
Are males and females equally represented generally in pictures?
Very good question. I don't think so, but sorry, I don't have that numbers. Yes, yeah, I don't think so. But yes, but that's a good question. But here, oops, I'm not talking about that. Here, I'm assuming that prior is equal. Okay, okay, right. So, what do you think? That's what you expect. What do you think is going to be? You think it's more likely to be all female or more likely to be all female? And you'll be right. For group shots, it is true. That's what we found. The two sides are very, very high. So really, and for this group, of course, it's a group of friends. You have, if they're all female friends, if they're all male friends, that's more likely than half female, half male. And you'll be right. Is that always the case? This is very... If you focus on family pictures, it's almost the opposite. That's for family pictures, the centerpiece is very strong. Yeah, this is biology, right? So if you have family together, more than likely, male, female, equal. Equal, I don't know, but okay. But it's very, very unlikely you have family only males, 6 of them, or only female, 6 of them. 2 I can take, 6 is just a little bit too much. Yes, okay. So the idea is that now you have all that information, then you can see that next time when you work on gender estimation of individuals, you can actually do a lot with that information that I just shared with you. Okay, so it turns out that even just based on location, we can do some level of gender recognition already. Remember, this is location only. That means that our algorithm is not even looking at the faces yet. The pixels are just ignored, just look at the face. And you can see that it does something not all the time correct. Again, I'm showing blue for male, pink for female. And every time I use a dotted circle, that means an error was made. Okay, so therefore, all solid circles means perfect result. Every time you see dotted, that means some errors are made. Okay, this is using appearance only, and then the right column shows combining appearance and position. Of course, the point is that the more to the right, the more information you bring in, therefore the better the performance. So I hope you see that on the rightmost column, all of them are recognized correctly. And you can see all of this, right? Like this group of people, the 2 male subjects are actually on 2 sides, or everyone inside is female. So we like to put female at the center of pictures, which I like. I have no complaint about that. Okay. Okay, good. I don't know how I'm doing in time. Okay, I need to rush a little bit. This is a rather interesting example. In computer vision, we find a very, very interesting problem. When you have a picture, you always want to find where the horizon is. Or some people call this the vanishing line when it goes to infinity. Okay, anyway, the idea is that if you are able to analyze faces in a picture by recognizing their size and recognizing the distance from camera, you can actually have a very good estimate of where this horizon is. And this is to show you that our estimated horizon is green, and the ground truth is dotted lines here. So pretty much, we're doing a good job here. Here we have a little bit more error. You can probably guess why. You see these 2 faces in the back? We didn't know those people were standing in the back. So our estimate of the horizon is a little bit higher than taller or higher than the ground truth. So that could be an error. But nonetheless, using human faces to estimate horizon seems to be working okay. Okay, that's not so interesting. The next step is that after we find that horizon, we're also trying to compare all these individual faces and see how much they deviate from that horizon. We like to believe, and later I'm going to show you the result, if all these faces are very much along the same horizon, that means what? That means they are all about the same height, right, individually. It turns out that, and you notice, when people sit down, you tend to be roughly the same height. When you stand up, then you have some people taller than the others. Furthermore, when those people who sit down and have their picture taken, guess what they are doing most likely? They are eating, yes. So interesting now we found this this is a toy example. We have this so-called dining event detector. Okay. It turns out that simply by looking or estimating the horizon and see how much human faces deviate from the horizon, we actually get pretty good results. We know all these pictures showing that people are eating, people are dining. We did make one error. This is one area you have people in the same row. They're all the same height. They were not eating. They were standing. But we thought that they were dying because the face was the same height. So that's one area. But most of the time, we're doing OK. And you can see that performance in the RC curve is actually much, much better than random guess. OK? OK. 5 minutes? OK, good. So, OK, I'm going to rush through one section. Basically, the idea is to tell you that after I've said all of this, what is that good for? I'm just going to use this as one example. I'm pretty sure many of you have used software on your computer to organize pictures. I'm using iPhoto as an example. This is for Mac people. For PC people, you have other examples, I know. Okay, I'm a Mac person, so I'm just going to choose to work with iPhoto. And then you can see how it allows you to recognize faces in your photos, and then it suggests faces that you cannot recognize and asks you to give some feedback. Okay, but all of this is to say that by just the way they look, they design this graphical user interface, you can see they are not doing this. All the things I said earlier, they are not doing. Right? They are still that 1990s face recognition approach, trying to learn as many as possible this training image and try to do something about them. Okay, so my claim therefore is that no, iPhoto designers, you should do something like this. I'm going to rush through this section, but basically it's all the things I've said. Right? When you have a family of, say, 5 people, 6 people, really there's so much prior among them that if you want to recognize faces of this family photo set, you really should think about all this I mentioned earlier. Okay, I thought I would show you at least one example. This will show Michael, Kristen, and Timmy, the 3 children. They have their pictures taken very, very often. And whenever they have picture taken, they always put themselves in certain positions. Okay. This I thought was interesting. I want to show you. This is a family of 5 members. What I'm trying to show you for every box here is the co-occurrence between 2 faces. Okay, so therefore, when you see a brighter box, that means these 2 faces occur very, very often together. So therefore, it's a symmetric 5x5 array. Okay, with all the diagonal elements being very, very dark, 2 faces of the same person shouldn't show up in the same picture all that often, unless you're looking into the mirror of yourself. And usually that doesn't happen that much. Except that I noticed that more and more pictures online are about pictures of individuals taking themselves in front of a mirror. That should become more popular now. Okay, but anyway, apparently in this family, the boy and the girl are very, very often together, and the mother and the baby are very, very often together. I'm just going to call it baby. I don't even know that's boy or girl. And the father apparently doesn't show up in pictures of him. Okay, sure. You guess why? Okay, so of course, okay, the point is not so much that the father is this poor guy that's taking pictures all the time. The point is that now you know this prior, which is not even uniform. This is going to help you a lot in tests like iPhoto. So next time when you try to, to the designers of the software, when you try to recognize faces, you really need to take into account this, what we call group prior. 2 faces showing up, and the probability of them. Co-occurrence stands. Point, first date, I mentioned timestamp. All the pictures coming with timestamp, most of them. There, if you know the birth date, family, and everyone, then before the baby Grace was not born, all the pictures before that shouldn't have Grace in it. Right? So that would be very useful information. Geolocation, I mentioned that earlier. I know I'm rushing, but if I can right? If you know this these family members, the way that they spread out extended family, this is not just one core family, but extended family spreading themselves around different cities. You can see some of them happen in all cities, but some close to, say, point A, that would be, I don't know, somewhere like Erie, I guess. Okay. So the idea is that if you also have the geotags of every picture, then you should be able to do something useful with that. Okay, so back to talk about what you asked earlier. So for this kind of experiment, we have done this much. We've shown that performance-wise, vertical axis is the accuracy, so the higher the better. Horizontal axis, I have to explain, is the number of faces that you have to label by human first, and then the algorithm takes over. So the idea is that you don't have to label all the pictures. The algorithm will take up the rest and try to recognize for you what they are, who they are. Okay, you can see that with face, clothing, GPS information individually, that's how they perform. But that's now the curve I want to show you. Take this curve, it's right here. You can see the scale, The X is being rescaled. So if you use face appearance only, that's the performance you get. If you use face plus GPS, you're up here. Face plus clothing, face plus group prior, face plus birthday. You can see all of these are better than using face only. Finally, if you stack them together, face only, the baseline will be here. And you can see face plus clothing plus GPS. In the end, face plus clothing, GPS, birthday, group prior, and post, that will give you the top curve, the black curve. So we have example to show you that the more you bring in, the more you're going to get better performances. Okay, I'm rushing. Examples. Top face only, you can see a lot of errors. Bottom, everything, you see much fewer errors. Another example. Face only appearance, everything, all the information added together. I hope you see more green labels, fewer red labels. So adding more contextual information, getting you better and better performance. Can I take 2 more minutes? Okay. Okay. Thank you, John. So I think this last picture will really bring my point to those of you who want to study more about what I'm trying to say today. Even though for all the examples I've mentioned earlier, they all focus on more like photos of people that have certain social relationship among them, right? Families, friends, whatnot. Okay, I'm going to make a bolder claim here that is even for pictures that don't have all of that or any of that, something can be done as well. So I'm going to use this picture as example to tell you what's next in our research, and we've done something already. I want to ask you, what does this picture tell you? Anything. If you want to use words to describe this picture, what would you tell me? Sports. Good. I like that. Anything else? Polo. That's great. And you know this was polo because you saw the player on the horse. Yes, the horse. Right. If without the horse, it would be hockey. I don't know what that would be. Okay. Obviously, this is outdoor. Okay. Anything about the depth? Those of you in computer vision, depth estimation is always a good exercise. Can you see that the trees are farther than the horse? Yeah, you can see that. Okay, good. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is the following. It turns out that when you just use your mind, use your brain, use your eyes, try to understand this image, a lot of contextual information is already happening all together, helping each other. Just like what you did when you saw a group of people. Okay, therefore, this is all that has happened in your head just now. Okay, I'm pretty sure you have already done some salience detection. In computer vision, what we mean by that is that you're able to extract what's important in this image, and the background is less important. You've done object detection. You've detected the horse. You've detected the rider on the horse. I don't know if any of you actually saw the ball. The ball was less obvious, but it's there. Okay, okay. So object detection. You have done some geometric layout. That's a background. That's a horizontal plane, and those are things pop out from the plane. You've done some depth estimation. You have already in your head tell yourself that's open country, outdoor. Therefore, you're not supposed to see desks or phones or computers. Okay. You've also just now done event classification. That's you decide this was a polo event, and the deal is that all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tests all happen in your head almost concurrently. I say almost because I don't know. Okay. Therefore, in the future of pattern recognition and classification, whatnot, whether that's pictures of people or a picture like this, we claim that you really have to think about contextual information and see how these engines all helping each other. There are 6 engines here. This is what we believe should be done, and we've done some exercise already. And if you're interested, feel free to check us out in those papers. Basically, the idea is that you really should have all these engines, all these classifiers, designed to begin with, but also repeat them so that this time each one can learn from all the others. Furthermore, after that has happened, you should also feed the information back to the first layer so that they can improve themselves as well. So all this to say is that contextual information really, really is important, and they should help you There shouldn't be just 6 engines all working independently. Altogether, it should help you. And this structure that we call feedback-enabled cascade classification model has received a lot of visibility lately. We didn't invent a model. I think what we invented was a feedback addition to it. So anyway, so I hope that brings all of this to home, and you see that this structure is what I'm trying to promote in the end. You have layers and layers of classifier try to help each other in the end. Maybe just one question. Have you heard about this thing in the news that's so much so now about deep learning? Yeah, okay, good. I'm just going to make a statement. I think what we're trying to do here is also getting it closer and closer to deep learning, except that I disagree with what they talk about there, that artificial neural network is the answer to that. I disagree. Okay, you can see that all of our nodes, they do look like an artificial neural network, but each of these nodes to us is much more at the semantic level, not on the feature level. So I'm going to stop there and just say that, yes, this is very much along the line of deep learning, but I don't think artificial neural network is the answer to that. Okay, final slide. So basically to say that if you can understand what this picture is trying to tell you, the fact that what these people were doing or what they did before the picture was taken, we're not there yet. Our algorithms are not even close to understand this picture or know how many people they are and which arms belong to which bodies. But we do know that they seem to be very, very happy. So you can guess the event. And I can also tell that by the name tags they were all wearing, this must be some kind of conference. People just step out, glad that it was over, that kind of thing. Therefore, everyone's happy. And this is definitely not a business kind of conference, more like a conference for the geeks kind of thing. Technical conferences, yes. You can tell by their facial expressions, right? Okay, good. So with that, I'm going to conclude, and I hope that you got the point I'm trying to make. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Do you have an idea that there are specific features that humans extract, and that there might even be parts of the brain that specifically extract certain kinds of features?
Yeah, very, very good questions. We as a research group ourselves, we don't do that. But we do leverage on a lot of good features that other researchers have come up with. Okay, I'm just going to mention this one feature that people have been using quite a lot, and we have been using that feature as well. This is called SIFT, S-I-F-T, which stands for, okay, I need help, Scale Invariant Fourier Feature Transform. Thank you. So it's one feature that says if you look at image, look at every position, you look at a small neighborhood, and understand all the frequency variation and orientation as well. That's one that we use. But I'm not claiming that we are expert in that. We have also been using other features, but so far SIFT seems to be enough for us to show what we want to show. Another feature that we often use is called GIST. That really need help. G-I-S-T, anyone remember that, what that stands for? Okay, anyway, so these are common features that we use. And those people have claimed that some of these are similar or related to human visual systems. Okay, but that's not our results. Our results is about using these features and try to show what we want to show. But very good question, very good question.
Anybody else? I'll ask a quick one. So you showed us a picture of event inherently very dynamic.
Yes.
Is there anything to be added?
For video? I think so. I think so. And I hope that my presentation today has motivated some of you to go that direction. We have not. We have not. Yes. Yeah. But I would say the closest to that, still not video, but it would be my friend, where is she now? Fei Li, who has been doing, I think she's Stanford now. She moves about, yes. So they have been working on activity recognition. And the point is very similar to the last point I made. She was trying to say that if you want to know the person is throwing something or hitting something with a racket or kicking something, okay, it helps if you know what that something is. Therefore, if you see a basketball, I'm already, see, you can see what I'm doing, right? If you see a basketball, then most likely the action is throwing that basketball into the basket. But if you see a baseball, then most likely the action would be different. I'm not even good at this, right? If you see a football, and then you can see. So she's trying to say that you have two engines. One is object recognition, recognizing the ball or the racket, and the other one is action recognition. Then they can help each other. Yeah, so that's the closest I can think of when it comes to video.
Running from just looking at the picture.
What's that?
I can already tell the horse is running from just looking at the picture.
One still picture, right? Yes, yes, yes. So yes, I'm in a full agreement that I think next step, I hope some researcher will want to take this to the next level and start analyzing video. But so far, we have stayed pretty much to still pictures. And maybe for the fact you just mentioned. And sometimes still picture can tell a lot already about the action. Yes.
Okay, let's spend one more time.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks.